Welcome to the Whiskey and Whitetails YouTube channel. I'm Gus, and today we are going to be talking about 8 things that you're probably not doing ahead of whitetail season, because I couldn't think of 10. Ahead of whitetail season, we all know there's things you got to be doing, right? You should be shooting your bow, shooting your rifle, getting tree stands ready. We all know those things. We're here to talk about some of the things that you probably haven't thought of or don't think of until it's too late. So let's get into it with number 1, clean out your truck. That's right. Get all the stuff out of your truck that has all the fun smells, all the air fresheners, all the things that are going to potentially leave residual scents on your clothing or your gear on your way to the deer woods, especially if you are driving this vehicle, this particular truck, to and from your stand. It's not going to help you attract deer. It's only going to cause you problems and make it harder for you to maintain scent control as you go through the season. So do that now, a couple months or as early as you can ahead of the deer season. Let those scents start working their way out of the truck. You can actually buy little ozone units for your truck. They fit right inside one of the cigarette lighter or have USB power, and they'll actually do the same thing that those ozone boxes do for your clothes and help get rid of some of those smells in your vehicle. Just one way that you can help optimize your scent control for the season. Number 2, get in shape. Now, I'm the last person to be giving fitness advice, but I can tell you one thing that your family and your spouse or significant other would like to have more than anything, even above having a freezer full of fresh deer meat this season, is having you back home safe. So every year, people die, have heart attacks from overexertion, dragging and pulling deer out of the woods. So do yourself a favor and your family, start going for a walk, put on a heavy backpack, put on a weighted vest, and go for some long walks. Get your body accustomed to that. Get in the gym, move some weights, do some kettlebell swings, do some functional training. Get yourself in a position where you're not a hazard to yourself or people that you may be hunting with. A lot of people don't think about that, but if you're doing any sort of backcountry hunting or deep into public land and you get hurt and you fall out, well, now you have a hunting partner, if you're hunting with somebody, that also has to take care of you. And so that can be dangerous to them as well. So keep your family and friends in mind. Get yourself in shape. For any other fitness-related advice, we'll leave that to our Whiskey and Whitetails resident, Green Beret, and Sniper Lamarticus. Enough of that. On to number 3. Check the regulations in your area. It's very common. You hunt in an area for so long that you just get your license, assuming you've updated your license, so make sure you do that as well. Get your license, get your tags, but you just assume the regulations haven't changed much, especially if they've been the same for a long time. So take the effort, get online, go through the websites. A lot of places like South Carolina, where we are typically hunting, and some of the other states, wherever you can go buy a license, you can actually get a pamphlet that includes all of the regulations for that season. That includes things like bag limits, size limits, dates, method of take, and when those come into play, so when you can and can't hunt with certain weapons, as well as what applies to public land and private land. So make sure you understand where those differences are, what you can get away with in days you can hunt, and what you can hunt with on private land doesn't always equate to public land. So make sure that you are working through those, you understand what those are, so that those things don't nip you in the bud, so to speak, during the hunting season, because the last thing you want is to be stuck with a game warden getting weapons taken away or getting a deer taken away because you didn't follow proper regulations and guidelines. Number 4, sharpen your knife. I cannot tell you how many times I've been in the woods meeting up with a buddy or someone that I'm hunting with, or meeting up back at the clubhouse, the way station, to see somebody struggling with a pocket knife or some other hunting knife that's not sharpened, and they can't even get the skin cut enough, behind the bone and in between the bone and tendon on the deer's leg to insert their tag through. If you can't get that done, you're going to have a hell of a time skinning a deer or gutting a deer. So make sure that you sharpen your knife, make sure that it's safe to use, make sure that it's lubricated. All those things that you do, you spend a lot of time caring for your bow and for your firearm. Make sure you're doing the same thing for your knife. It's a tool just like anything else, especially if you're going to be hunting somewhere where you may be field dressing or gutting a deer in the woods. The last thing you want to do is to turn a situation where you've had a successful hunt and you should be happy and excited into a sad and potentially dangerous situation because you've allowed a dull knife to be the reason that you have punctured yourself or cut yourself, or God forbid, punctured or cut somebody else who was not paying attention to where you were at because you're using a dull knife that is not working properly. Make sure you carry maybe a knife particularly for field dressing and skinning. That's what I like to do. I have a razor knife and a couple of other knives that are specifically for doing that kind of work. They stay sharp all year. That's all they're used for. Number 5, clean out your bag. Can't tell you how many times I'm with guys in a hunt club or at the lodge and we're getting ready to go out and they're pulling stuff out of their bag and they're like, oh man, look, there's snacks in here from last year. I don't even know the last time I changed these batteries, so on and so forth. Clean out your bag. Make sure that you're carrying only what you need for that time of the year. If you're heading out like we do here in South Carolina, if your season starts in August or maybe September, you don't need to be carrying your rattling antlers and a grunt tube and a number of other things. You're just probably not going to need that. The rut is not for another couple months, so don't carry things you don't need. Make sure you have plenty of space for hydration at that time of the year. It's still hot. Make sure you have plenty of extra batteries or a headlamp. Make sure you have a first aid kit. Outdoor accidents and fatalities happen in situations where people are in the thought process or the mindset that, oh, it's just going to be a quick 1.5 mile trail run, or it's just going to be a quick hike up and down. Things happen, weather changes drastically. Unanticipated things can happen, injuries can occur, and you don't want to be caught without the rain gear or the first aid kit that you may need to help keep you safe through what would otherwise be a harmless or less than lethal situation, and you find yourself in a position where it's potentially deadly for you or the people you're with. So clean out your bag. Make sure you're carrying exactly what you need. Make sure you have the things you need, extra batteries. If you're hunting down here, you're going to need a thermocell and probably some extra thermocell pads and cartridges. So make sure you're taking into consideration all those things and making sure your pack is set and ready to go, and that you've evaluated everything to make sure that it is sufficient for what you need for that time of year. Number 6, pay attention to your weapons details. So I mentioned earlier that by this time of the season, this time of the year, we should have been shooting all year round, right? Marksmanship is something you should always be working on. Always be shooting your bow, always be shooting a rifle. I'm just as guilty as anybody else of not doing it as much as I should, or as much as I would like to, right? Life gets in the way. One thing I do always do though, before every season, is check the small things. Make sure that the sling on your rifle is functioning properly and that one of the connections or one of the straps is not going to break or bust while you're a mile into the woods and then have to try and manipulate and handle a firearm potentially after a successful hunt and trying to get a deer out as well. Make sure that your D-loop and your string on your bow aren't coming apart and fraying, or make sure that the peep is properly aligned. Make sure your rest is working properly. All these little things that we take for granted throughout the year while we're shooting over and over again, these things compound over time. These little issues can grow and present themselves when we least expect it or really don't want it to, which would be right in the middle of the season. So take a look at those things. Look at the finer, small details of your weapon. Check those small screws on scopes. Make sure that your glass, scopes, and binoculars are all functioning properly. Just pay attention to those little details. They can mean a lot when you really need it. Number 7, try on your gear. Look, we're all guilty of gaining and losing weight as we get older. It comes and goes, but make sure that your gear fits. There's nothing worse than needing a piece of equipment only to find that it's not fitting as well as it should or it needs to. It's also a good time to check the functionality of your gear. Make sure that rain system you have is functioning properly. Make sure that the boots that you like to wear are functioning and that the soles aren't coming off or dry rotting, or you didn't let them sit and mildew and get wet and not dry properly. Make sure that everything that you're going to rely on to move and function effectively and comfortably is working properly. This is the time to do that. This is the time of year to make sure all that stuff is taken care of so that you can fix it and rectify the situation if it needs to be. Number 8, set some goals for the season. Look, we have a fairly long season here in South Carolina, and the other places that we hunt have fairly long seasons as well. We're very fortunate to be able to hunt with a myriad of methods of take throughout the season. We can hunt with bow, we can hunt with rifle. So really, here at Whiskey and Whitetails, we have the ability to hunt from essentially mid-August, and depending on what connections we want to use and where we want to travel to, we can actually hunt into early February in some places. With that being said, hunting is fun, but you can really do yourself a favor by managing your expectations for the season and what you expect to get out of it by setting some goals. So we all have a goal of shooting some deer and getting a freezer filled with meat, right? That's obviously a huge part of why we hunt. But are you looking to get a personal record-sized buck? Is there a particular buck you've seen on camera that you want to target? Are you looking to get your kids or a particular kid in front of a deer for the first time, or maybe their first buck? Are you looking to get a spouse involved? Or you may be looking to get some family involved in hunting for the first time? These are things that you should set and be thinking about now so that you can help yourself plan hunts throughout the season. You can help manage expectations for those hunts. If you know that your goal is to get your 5 or 6-year-old in front of some deer for the first time, maybe not even kill a deer, but just get them out there and exposed and seeing some deer and getting excited about wildlife and hunting, then you should probably go out with some expectations that, look, there's going to be a lot of snacking. There might be an iPad or a tablet involved to keep them occupied a little bit. You might need to leave early, and there may be some loud chatter and talking back and forth when you're in the stand, but it's not about keeping a 6-year-old deathly quiet while you wait for deer to come in. It's about getting them excited about the outdoors and being outside. So it's just one example of sort of managing those expectations. Set some goals, help manage expectations. That's number 8 on this list of 8 things that you're probably not doing or thinking about ahead of deer season. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching our channel. If you like it, please subscribe, hit the notification bell. Don't forget to always check out our website for new products and use code podcast for 20% off anything you buy in the shop. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.